raga has become popular and people are insisting that we invented raga soca. And I told them the first place in my life I ever heard the word raga was in England, in London. We visited this family and this young girl came up, they told her I was a musician, and she asked me, do you play raga? And I, what? I have never heard the word.
Well,
So,
we're there to know.
so what is your recollection of this origin of raga, as whether you call it a style, a subgenre and so on? What do you know about raga in England?
Well, I know that when I was a young boy, if I walked around with my shirt outside my pants, my grandmother would say to me, boy, you're too ragamuffin, right? So raga is coming from the word ragamuffin, which is a term that has been used for vagrants, for, in some instances, people who grow their hair in the Rastafari tradition, people who are frequently improperly dressed, you know. So this music being what it was, because the beat shifted from just the third beat of the four, you know, tap, 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 tum, 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 tum. So it became more urgent and it became more dance hall, because that was what the people in the dance hall wanted to hear. And in England they like to name things and put everything in its box. So that became ragamuffin, but shortened to raga, you know. It's not a genre, it's another style, because the genre has to be reggae, you know, but the style, or if you want to divide reggae into genres.
So if you were to date raga in England, around what time would you say?
80s.
80s.
Yeah.
Which is what I recollect in England, 80s. Young girls come up to me.
Yeah.
And I had never heard the word, and I had been all across the region. And I was already in the music industry. In fact, it was a tour with Touch in England when that happened. We went to a barbecue. And that was Lewis. What Lewis first name again? Willis. Lewis, who was here, the furniture man, he went back to England.
Oh,
Alvin Lewis, yeah. I like to give people the tribute. Alvin Lewis. Yeah, he's between, back and so on between. Right? Good. Now, you made a point, and I don't think people understand the significance. I want to go back to it. You said you produce about 80% of the reggae music in England at the time. Recorded, involved. And I know we are the old generation of engineers. If you're doing something wrong, we are going to tell you you're doing. We're not going to. Am I correct? You're not going to press record.
No, that's true. The thing is that once everything is set and the musicians are comfortable and they've got the vibe, record.
Exactly. Because sometimes I made this point in relation to Jackie Opel and Bob Marley and the Wailers. The Wailers backed Jackie Opel and at least one or two early recordings in Jamaica. And I made that point. I said if the Wailers are backing Jackie Opel must be communicating backward and forth. So they would be influenced backward and forth. I might come into your studio, right? And I come with something different. And you like it, you never heard it.
True.
Okay?
And then in fact, I remember an interview with Bob Marley where he had admitted that he was a Jackie Opel fan.
With Marley?
Yeah. He said that he had hoped to become as popular as Jackie Opel, you know, because he was a Jackie Opel fan. Jackie Opel was quite a dynamic performer, you know. Unfortunately, he left us at the early age of 27 in the 60s, you know, who knows? In fact, I was able to find Jackie Opal's music with the group The Scatterlights on release in Japan at the beginning of the CD era. There's a label called Alpha Enterprise, and they you know, are marketing Jackie Opal and the Satellites. In fact, when I got a copy of that CD, I was working at the time with Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare, and I was showing it off. And Robbie Shakespeare said to me, "Where you get that from?" And I said, "Japan, got and baby, no." So I thought, okay, Robbie, for you. I gave it to him, and that was the first time he'd seen Jackie Opal on CD. When I went back to Japan, I begged another one from the company, and when I came back to London, my friend Cedric Lynch at the Barbados Tourism Authority was knocked out that I had a CD of Jackie Opal, and he begged to borrow it. So I lent it to him, and then sometime later he said to me, "Ma, you can't copy it." And that was when I realized that the Japanese had come with a system where you could not copy one CD to another.
Yes, yes.
You know, and that was one of the first albums that had that prohibition on it, you know. So I said to him, "You better give me it back.
So I could
But
do
you
it.
can't copy it, but I know how."
Yeah, that is true. You're an engineer. All right. Well, we could take some questions from the audience, and I want you to come and interrogate a little bit about the chord structures, because that's something we debate all the time,
Yeah.
and so on.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure meeting you, meeting a man who worked with Shaky, one of my idols, a man who knows, what's his name, Jerome. And these are all the people. And I never really realized that we were working with greats. I knew they were great musicians, but I didn't know that. I didn't know the mark they had left before they became available to us, young musicians. And that. It's still a pleasure. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm still learning. I'm still hearing things from you. What is interesting is your description of the minimalist to chords structure thing. And I don't want to speak about it disparagingly, but you know, sometimes as a musician you get a little frustrated that, you know, there's no variety, and there's no elaboration. They're not exploring all the possibilities of that music allows. Of course, they are very nice and sweet, two chord and even one chord.
The jam,
Nice jam and so on. Sometimes, you know, but you know, as a trained musician who probably grew up in the classics and so on. You want something to show off with.
Yeah, you want something to sharpen your wits again.
Yes. So it's really a pleasure. What instrument you really played?
Well, at the age of 10, I began playing guitar. Later on, when I moved to London, at school, the school had an orchestra. So when they chose which instrument a boy would play, by his size, and because I was one of the tall ones, they said, "You contrabass," and they bring it and put it on my shoulder. And all the other boys were too short, it was over their head. But when he put this contrabass on me, you know, and he said, "That's your thing." So I said, "All right, I will play that," because what it was that in the 50s and 60s, my family were known as the Walker Brothers Quartet, singing in the Adventist church, right? And I always liked to sing bass. Like when we're in church, I sing in the bass part. And my grandmother played the organ, and she had a terrible deep voice when she sang bass part, like, come on. And I guess because she was very dear to me, I kind of, appreciated the bass tones. So I played bass in the school orchestra until I was found out that my sight reading was not up to scratch. I could go home with the music, learn my part completely from top to bottom by heart. And then when we're playing in the orchestra, I play my part, right? But one day, I was in a music lesson, and outside of the window, some boys were playing rugby. Now, I used to play rugby too, so I was torn between playing the bass for the teacher and watching the rugby match. So I had one eye on each. And then the teacher said, stop. I wanted to play from line 34, bar 5.
Yeah.
Got my head. I said, boy, where's that? Where's that? He said, I got you. I said, what do you mean you got me? He said, you are playing from memory. I said, how you know? He said, you're watching rugby match outside while you're repeating your homework. You went home and learned the homework, and now you're coming back to perform it, with style, and you're looking away, and you're not watching the dogs. I said, boy, give him myself. He said, you are not orchestral material. He said, I wish my memory was as good as yours, but you are not orchestral material because if the conductor stopped the orchestra and said, we're going to play from here, you won't know where the hell you are. Although you know the piece.
Yes.
So I had to agree. So I said, well, I'm going and play electric guitar in a rock band. Right? They had no conductor. Right? It only had a driver and a driving the car.
Yeah.
So I joined a group of 3 white boys, my age, 13 years old, that wanted a 4th member. And they wanted preferably a black person, right? So I went and show off because my guitar skills were a little bit higher than theirs. So I started to show them even how to play.
You've been playing guitar since you're 10?
Yeah. And now I'm 13, so I was nearly a professional, And the fellas said, okay, we're going to play, and the group was called Roadworks Ahead. So when you're going and they're having roadworks in the road, they have some sign, Roadworks Ahead. Well, we helped ourselves to a couple of those to enhance performance at school, in the school assembly.
Yes.
The headmaster was horrified. He said, good Lord, where did you get those? And we said, well, we borrowed them, take them back immediately, which ruined our stage props. But we still went and played the tunes, and the boys still enjoyed it, Well, after a year or so, the guitar player, one of the other guitar players, this was a group without any keyboards. It was just guitars, like, Beatles, Rolling Stones, guitar-oriented bands. So we did that, and one of the guitarists decided he was going to leave school at 14. Now, in those days, you could leave school as you turned 14, So he left and went to work for a music publisher. Now, that music publisher was called Robert Stigwood. and he was the manager and the label that controlled Lulu and the Bee Gees when the Bee Gees first came out. So he went to work there. Then the bass player said, I'm going to work in the music business too. He went to work as a sound engineer for a recording studio called Olympic. And they were recording a lot of pop hits from the charts. So that left me now without two members of this band. So I had to form a new band. This time I'm forming a band with a keyboard player. As I had a white fella who could play classic, and in fact, another school friend said to me, your band needs a keyboard player, boy. You're all playing fool there with guitars. You know the new thing is keyboard, you have to have a piano or organ or something. He said, Nick, this is a friend of mine, could play piano real good. I said, yeah, come. Then we go in the music room. There were two pianos in there. We could have a jam. Because I was fortunate enough that my younger sister was having piano lessons. So when she went to the teacher and came back home, I would ask her, what you learn? What you was playing? And she would play it. And then I would mimic her, pirate fashion.
Yes.
So that's how I learned my way around the keyboards. Around drums now, I always had a passion for drums. And the fact that he was using both hands, both feet, and making the beat. And my older cousin was a drummer in a band in Barbados. The members of the band was from the Fanti family, which young Rihanna is a member of that family. And that group in 1965, 66 was called the Chisels. They never left Barbados. They played only in hotels and things, but boy, they could play. And I'm not surprised that Riri has become a member of that family, musical family, that has made it internationally. Right, so because of my love for drums, and my older cousin played drums in that band, I used to steal a little piece now and again with some ideas, drums. And I thought I'd become quite a good drummer, enough to play drums, bass, guitar, and keyboards on my own songs. So I became a multi-instrumentalist on my thing. I wasn't playing no Tchaikovsky and no Chopin and all of that. I was playing Bovel, right? So I make up my little rhythms and things, and because I want to show off my knowledge of chords. So I'm not just playing two chords, ching, 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 ching. I'm going like if I Stevie Wonder, chords. And he can't say, I'm going like if I'm Ray Charles, chords, And that was the thing that was my insight into writing this song, Silly Games, because I wanted to start writing songs on the piano, because if you know those instruments, there are certain tones that you could play on the piano that you can't get that on guitar. Yeah. Guitar is quite limiting, and the octaves on the piano, and the way you could press 5 or 10 notes at the same time and make a sweet chord, and I had seen my grandmother and my grandfather playing gospel music. I know gospel music ain't no one chord thing. You have to know chords. So that was my, reason behind writing music with many chords, so that I don't get bored.
That's the idea. So you don't get bored. There's always something new. I like a song that every time I listen to it, over the years, I hear something else.
Yeah.
I hear something new.
It's like watching an old movie and saying, I can see that part, you know.
And again, it depends on the sound system you listen to it. It has to do with the engineering. Some things are hidden on certain sound systems.
That's true.
I love to listen to the same thing on different sound systems. Different things are revealed at different
Well, I have
points.
a new album coming out shortly, and one of the songs that I recorded on there, it's an old song that I liked in the 60s, an old pop song. And I always thought the song was called Hold Your Head Up. And it is called Hold Your Head Up. But there's one word that is blotted out by the music, and that is woman. The song is Hold Your Head Up, woman. But when you sing woman, you know, and you don't really hear that word.
Yes.
So I met the author. Said, you know what that song, the title of that song? I said, Hold Your Head Up, woman. I said, I never hear who. When I went back and listened back to the tune, I said, all them years, I didn't know that word was hidden by the music. The music, yeah.
Yes.
So I decided to make a version of it where the word woman
comes out.
Yeah.
But you tell me all about your grandmother and your cousins and so on. You're destined for this thing. You could hardly escape being a musician.
I agree, because the joke is, my father wanted to become a musician. My grandfather was a musician.
Yes.
So my father went to my grandfather to learn music. But while he was there, his eyes set on my mom. And I was the first production. So I said, it's music make me.
Some people say it's rudeness.
No, well,
not
it
rudeness.
has to be music, because if he
It's
didn't
music.
go,
It's music.
if he didn't go to my mother's father's house to learn music, I don't know if the two of them would have ever met.
Yes.
And me be the first production.
No, I like how you put it. Music make me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, I am not going to have everything. It's a pleasure
Thank
meeting
you.
you. There's a lot to say, a lot to learn, and maybe
True.
some other time we'll get to talk.
Please.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. There are two things I will listen to tell you. The first one is, when you said you peeped out the window to watch rugby and played by memory, he had the same experience. He went to music school and couldn't read anything. Well, refused to read because his memory is impeccable.
Yeah.
And most of the greats I know, they like both you and Willis. And like you, he played multiple instruments. And the hidden things is an experience he has, because there's a song that is perhaps the most famous song from us touch. It's called Taken Away Somebody Woman. Mm-hmm. And he came up with a vocal part and told me to get somebody to sing it. And I tricked him and recorded it. And hid it. And everybody says, that part, it's so nice. Why you didn't bring it up? Who sang it? And when I tell them this Willis, they could never believe. So everything you said there. Okay, we have some more questions. Koja, first question from you. Koja, remember we're online, so we go. Yeah. Yeah, you're good there.
I got a message from you or I didn't know what I was saying. They ran around into the place that was Vincent, and where from
Africa.
So, well, you say about an interesting thing, so I didn't really have any questions,
well, Koja he mixes calypso soca with reggae. Come give a little bit of Carnival Sunday, I want them, Koja. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Kwame, go across my Koja.
Well, just been thinking that's a while ago, singing all kind of things. Carnival Sunday?
Yeah, anyone you want. Just for him to understand the difference, how you approach it different.
What the garden of it nice and clean. Because I read and the leaves them green. So predicting and know when really clean. Who gonna play the biggest team? Carnival Sunday afternoon. The wind is blowing more than a typhoon. Carnival Sunday afternoon. Yeah, so that was like a 1993 song. We have from 93, and then another song, so he said to sing that. But I was telling the story, when I went into the tent, three houses, and I sang the word typhoon. So the echelon in the tent was kind of like close to my vocabulary, and then and they want me to sing about typhoon, but I didn't feel it was going to be too disastrous. So I switched the script lyrics and saying, Carnival Sunday afternoon, you go be drinking strong man I run. Carnival Sunday afternoon. And that was a big in 1993.
Yeah,
so they're around Soca Muracan Zone.
Yeah.
So and that was like announcing.
Yeah.
Mama tune this year name Rutical, right? So saying that is topical and thing. I take a clip on it and think of it.
Alright.
Stick to your roots, that's it. Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell, really, evil spell. Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell, really, evil spell. One sun shining, everything gel. All eyes are already hell, protected by the angel. Make me illegal hell. Stick to your roots, stick to your roots, stick to your roots, that is the truth. Put on my mama's coffee boots, pick up the banjo, pick up the flute, Calypsonian rock, salute, plant, no trap to do the fruit, God prophetic, no dispute, dignitary beyond repute, once bitten and that is why I am shy, it is forbidden to tell a lie, that is the creed, you have to comply, God's are free, you can't deny, even though he could die, on Papa Pool you can rely, for something every July.
Right, and that's Koja. And there's one credit I always give to Koja. You said your father went to music lesson and got a wife. I took Koja to the library and he showed me my wife. So my wife is a Bajan.
Okay.
Yeah. And I give Koja that all the time. I carry me study showing books. He said, look, that girl over there, she watching you. Yeah, thank you, Koja.
There's a British barber that made the advocate. So, but then it's long time ago, I meet Cleve, good connection. Yeah, you might run into all things afterwards, so yeah, and then you think you're over again. The boy,
thank you, Koja. Juana, do you have any questions? No? Andre is only, but before that, I have to thank Madam Bovell for giving you permission to get out the house.
She bring me here.
Yeah. And not only that, for thieving you. Beja Barbara does thief me, so she thief you back. So we equal. Exchange of robbery.
I want to about the 2 car and the 3 car because when one struck between them really guys very well. And even flames, the 3 car and the 5 car is more or less. But then you will have to note them and practicing the bass plenty scales. So even though it's cheap, it's strong car.
Bass going everywhere.
And some we call decoration inside. For instance, the other white lady called Carol, she had to come to pitch strong. She had to learn that problem. When they set up the whole structure, the bell that inside, she will take up the flute and carry them inside and decoration. She took on the 3 cars. I have to do with a lot of scales.
Yes.
Yeah, because the morning, and even look some of the very good music, it's a pretty great guy. But it's the coloration, as they just say.
Around the chords, yes.
Yeah, which it had to be doing the scales then. So to be relative and to harmonize,
Yeah.
So that's the point I wanted to do.
Yeah, come late, we don't do Sata Masagana, man. I wanted you for Sata. But we could do Sata one more time, collectively, and then Andre go wrap up. Let me go, Kwame. Come, Coach, you go leave me.
sung by a group called the Abyssinians.
Abasena. That's like an England song.
Yeah.
I think I'm told what to do.
Yeah, third world to do it.
Yeah.
And come back song check.
Well, Coach, don't move, Andrea. I'm glad this is sound check because I engineer in St. Vincent almost every show for 25 years. And when the reggae bands come and they call SATA, the manager, the band, they ask me, where Jamaica you from? They say, oh, you know this? I say, well, you know, yeah. So most reggae band, yeah, do it for the sound check or the first song. And that's for the people on the online who listen. Back to Andrew.
Well, as we're about to wrap up and in speaking to Bovel, as he mentioned earlier on, he has an album coming out. So while in the discussion now, he was telling me now one of the things he wants to do in the way going forward is in some tunes that have guitar, he wants to put in the pan because as we know, pan is related to us in the Caribbean. So listening that, I thought, well boy, that really sound great because we have our own great young panelists coming up because you was telling me about this Trinidad brother who's about 40 and he is bad.
Well, I have to interrupt there. I was telling you that the kid was from Trinidad. 3 or 4 days ago, I was at the beach, me and my wife having a sea bath. There was a lady there and her husband that we began to converse. The lady was a Vincentian of 2 nationalities. She was Vincentian with Portuguese mix, and the husband is a Trinidadian. We got talking about music. The woman said her young son, Dougie, was a great pan player, and he better. So I said, wait a second, Dougie? She said, yes, my son. So I said, madam, I was just working with your son in London because you see them 2 pan tunes. It's her son play the pan, and that I would come here and meet her in St. Vincent, and she is Vincentian, right? And the father is Trinidadian. No, I always thought that he was a Trinidadian, but I find out that he's part Vincentian. And so when I went back in, I would text him to say, I just meet your mother on the beach. He said, boy, he said, only you could bring them kind of magic there.
Wow. who we had to get here from National Trust, the lady who usually organize lottery. It's just, as I say, thanks that it came off. Cleve again, I must say thanks, Willis, because we were communicating while they were overseas, then the communication kind of slackened down, that it kind of rocked the activity, but I see the Bovell as a musician, so it still came off, and I say thanks again. And Cleve, anything else you could? That's it? Oh, the radio station? Monty, that guy, Monty, it is Bayhill, all right. So Bayhill, all the best. Well, Vincent, I talked to my neighbor, so Kojo is represented. The news. Well, the guy is saying playing quiet day, you know, man. Yeah. Our cameraman, I'm glad to. Island Rebel Media. Thank you, my brother. Salute you and all the other achievements. And again, thanks. Well, we have some water, eh?
And I represent